Hello everybody, welcome to Fan Voice, episode 13. My name's Andrew.
And I'm Paul.
Alright, and today's episode is all about esports and the legitimacy of them. So we're going to go into a lot of depth about what we think, where esports is going.
Cover a bunch of different games.
Cover a bunch of different games.
Favor a couple, of course.
Well, yeah, and we're going to talk about Smash, of course, within that aspect. We're also going to talk about fighting games, and we can't forget about League of Legends.
Of course.
Which is why we have a special guest here.
Please give a warm welcome to Daniel Green.
Hello, everybody.
Daniel is our League of Legends expert, basically. He is the person we know that knows the most about League. So we decided to bring him on so he can give an aspect from a fan's point of view, basically. So, welcome to the podcast, Dan.
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right, so we're going to do one shout-out. We're not even going to bother with news.
Yeah.
And then we're just going to get into
Let's
this.
just dive right into it.
All right, so what's our shout-out?
Okay, so our first shout-out is a comment from the Spammers shout-out.
If you haven't checked it out, please go check it out.
Yeah, so
It's pretty entertaining.
Melissa watched it and basically replied to my joke about one of the spammers being racist, randomly saying someone was named Kimon Shu or something. And then she said, "Man, racism is so rampant in this country. I'll tell you what. Every time I go to a grocery store, some lady says to me, 'What are you doing here, Consuela? Go home and clean the house.'"
To which you said,
I was like, "What?
"Are you serious?"
Really?" Of course.
In what world would she be
she
serious?
was joking. I don't know. What if it was true and I LOL'd that? How bad would that be? Come on. I think it was safer to sound a little dumb.
Alright,
But
so...
thanks for that comment, Melissa.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that's our one shout out. Yeah, if you haven't checked out Spammer shout out yet, check it out. It's basically a really funny video we do where we look up all the spammer comments of our website and they give us some pretty hilarious stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So go check it out.
Yeah.
Alright, on to the main topic. Because we're not even going to talk about news. We're not going to talk about news. If we do need to talk about news, I would keep an eye out on the YouTube channel. We might be doing separate videos for them.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially for Smash. Because we will do separate videos for Smash.
Well, we're already getting that in motion.
That's true.
The Smash chat is going.
This is all about esports. It's all about competitive gaming. So let's start off with a discussion about MLG, which just ended.
Yeah.
So, MLG was pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of perfect, actually, because we were talking about this in Smash Chat a little bit. You were saying
Right.
we were talking about ads, which is a significant problem.
And everybody knew it.
So bad.
Pizza Man.
Fucking cheddar. So bad. And that's kind of the problem right now with esports, is there's just stuff like that.
It's heavily commercialized.
I feel like it has, but it's also the production quality isn't there yet. Except, we just saw many videos from you, Dan, about how the production quality is there, but it's all in League of Legends.
Yep.
That's true, but even with League of Legends, they still have ads in the middle of discussions or sometimes in the middle of games. And
Wow.
In the middle of a game? Are you
doesn't
serious?
happen often, but very rarely it still happens. And when it does happen, even though it doesn't happen often, it pisses me off a lot.
Yeah.
How does that even work with League? You can't pause that or anything, can you?
No, it's all live, on the videos.
Wow.
Are people...
That's stupid.
That's retarded.
And it happens more often during discussions, but truth be told, I love hearing discussions in the interviews.
Yeah, you don't
no,
want
seriously.
Discussion
That's
cut
so
off in the middle.
Man, and so it's kind of fitting that you said that, because that was my main problem with MLG. Is in the middle of interviews or in between every single set of Smash, they would play ads.
Yep.
90 seconds of ads.
And it was literally one ad the whole time.
It was. Did you not see any of the ads?
It was a freaking Pizza Hut ad.
I watched
24/7.
after it ended, so it was on YouTube already, and I didn't have to see all
you're
that.
lucky.
Okay,
man.
alright.
You are a lucky man.
That's a good thing.
I'm glad.
But
I
I would have
Yeah.
to say that this isn't a e-gaming or an MLG problem. This is just a bane of popular media.
Well,
you know?
so I agree to a certain extent. Like, you're always going to have commercials.
Yeah.
But my issue is that the commercials and the way that they're handled are really, really poorly handled.
Mm-hmm.
Like, showing an ad every 3 minutes in Smash.
Would you
Or-
would you say it's because it's along more of the lines of an online
That's my problem.
interface?
That's my problem. If
Because-
this was on TV, this is easily handled.
Yeah, it
You
wouldn't
break for
be
a
as
commercial. Commercials are 2.5 minutes. You come
Yeah.
back. Since it's in an online space, you are either an independent streamer and you don't make a salary off of it,
bad. Mm-hmm.
and if you do, it's because of subscriptions and it's not necessarily because of ads.
Yeah,
Or you're like MLG and you just have to run ads.
right.
Because if you don't, there's no way to make money
Mhm.
and recoup your costs.
Absolutely.
So
But
it's
I mean,
just-
I just really see a similar thing. MLG was terrible, but it seems
Yeah.
really similar to current free Hulu or
That's a good point.
or YouTube now too.
Yeah.
They've gotten really bad with ads.
And it could be something wrong with like the internet video scene's still very new. Like it's only been how old is Hulu? But
yeah.
they just show ads at the same spots always,
Yeah.
and that's a problem. Is like sometimes we're watching something
It
interesting,
doesn't work.
it cuts
all
off
the time.
right at the
The climax, right?
yeah,
And then it comes back and
it's
you're
just-
like, what?
yeah, total buzzkill.
Yeah.
And that's just a problem with like maybe the internet like
They
television
don't know how to run it
Yeah.
properly.
isn't run yet and still very amateurish. It hasn't with TV they had years of experience.
Yeah.
Hulu, I don't think it's not even a decade old yet.
Yeah. No,
it's,
not even close.
It's strange to think about, but now, here and now, it feels like it's just been around forever. You know?
Yeah, that's true. And you
Yeah.
think about that, but that's a really good point, Dan. It's like it
It
hasn't
is
been
still
around that
pretty
long.
young.
So that's a
Yeah.
really good point. Like, and you could say that Twitch has streamlined a lot of that process. Like, people know when to run ads during gameplay. But then you get somebody like MLG who needs to run more.
Mhm.
So how do they do that? How do they recoup costs from that? And that's kind of the difficult process. I mean,
Thankfully, there is no mid-match commercial.
yeah, well, there was during the crew battle.
Really?
Yeah, it was an accident, supposedly. But they ran an ad right in the middle of one of the matches during
Wow.
the crew battle. Yeah, that kind of sucked. But, so yeah, MLG was this weekend. I watched mostly Smash.
Same here.
I tuned into Call of Duty. I was instantly turned off by how utterly ridiculous that whole production was. Did you guys watch any of that?
I didn't watch any of the Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's not interesting, first of all. I was not interested, personally, at all. I tuned in and I was like, this is not, I'm not into this.
I agree, but I feel like that's a whole nother rant for me. It's just me of Call of Duty. Period.
Yeah, that's a good point. Not just competitively, but period. Yeah.
First-person shooter, I'm a
That's
retard.
that's a good point. I mean, and honestly, like, I turned into Call of Duty and I was like, no, it might be different competitively. Then I'm watching it and I'm like, yeah, this isn't different at all. And also, all of these players are just being assholes. Like, they would end the match and they would scream at the other team. Like, oh, you're such a loser. And then they
Really?
sit down and I'm like, are you trying to be cool? Because you're not at all.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, what is happening? This is so weird.
Huh.
It was like it's like they were trying to be all cool and like
Yeah.
like
that
gangster
might be-
about it. And it's a fucking Call of Duty. It's a video game.
That's interesting. Like, I'm sorry to break you off. Like,
No, go ahead.
how each like game kind of brings a different audience, even though you
Yeah.
think they'll bring all of the same audience because like nerds forever, we all
Yeah.
sit together.
Oh
Uh-huh.
no,
But-
it's a massive diversity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say a lot more
Bro-ish people might.
dominant personality people would really hate on a lot of Nintendo people because
That's a good point.
they generally people see it as quote unquote a more immature company
Yeah.
than others.
Or just in Japanese games in general. Like if the Call of Duty crowd looked on Blaze Blue, they might laugh at them. Or
Yeah.
King of
Mhm.
Fighters.
Yeah, that's a
Or
really
vice
good point.
versa, you know.
Well, I mean a little bit, but like I went in there with no judgment. I was like, I don't like Call of Duty very much to play, but if I might go in there, I might enjoy it competitively. No.
Yeah.
I was not interested at all. The announcers were good at Call of Duty, though. They brought a really good professionalism to them.
Mhm.
And so I was like, oh, that was really good. And then I switched over to Smash, and I was like, these commentators are just as good, if not better. And they're getting paid like a tenth of what the Call of Duty people
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guarantee that they're not getting paid as much.
Mhm.
And the commentators for Smash were fantastic.
Mhm.
Prague and D1 were there, of course.
They've
Talked
just
about them
been
before.
around forever.
They've been around forever.
Yeah.
And Wife, who originally commentated MLG, and I don't know when that was,
He
2004.
was like one of the first.
He was fantastic.
Yeah.
And so they just did a really good job, and they still knew people. And the commentator's booth was on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
So you could see the players, like, walking back and forth. And
Yeah.
that just added a certain amount of, like, we're still a little bit grassroots.
Yeah.
Like, they're still here.
But
We're still Smash.
But to
This is
have
still a
these
tournament.
commentators in it is just like so amazing. Like for me, my first look into like the professional gaming world started at last year's Evo, really recently,
Mhm.
and I've just been enjoying this whole process. It's looking at sports games for me was so foreign and like the whole
Yeah.
atmosphere and everything. But now I'm looking at it as something I'm interested in, but I'm like, oh, the code of this is so the same. The commentators talking about the player's status and like, oh, did you see that technical move right there
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I'm like, it's the same, but I'm so in it kind of
Yeah.
thing. It's like, I always like to joke. It's like, MLG Evo, it's my Super Bowl, man.
Yeah,
They-
and it really is. And the
Yeah.
commentators do a really good job. They're obviously not going to be as professional, but that's okay.
They sound pretty
I'm
darn-
okay with that.
They sound
They joke
professional
around.
in my
Well,
yeah.
no, they do.
Yeah.
They definitely sound professional, but they joke around a lot.
Oh, of course.
They're really
yeah.
funny in between
Mhm.
sets.
Yeah.
They really joke off problems. They did joke
Right.
off technical problems really well. So for me, I was just
And
like,
always
yeah,
throwing in
it's-
an inside joke. In
Yeah,
culture
exactly.
Here and there.
It's really it was really well done, and I was
Mhm.
very surprised by the Smash commentators.
And to be able to be the caster for fighting games
Oh,
is so much harder than it would be for, let's say, StarCraft
yeah.
or Dota or League of Legends, because they're usually a little bit more slow paced, so you can explain the strategies more.
No.
Yeah.
But
Uh-huh.
with fighting games,
It's
yeah,
like
happening-
instantaneous.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
second something new happens.
And
blah, blah, blah.
that's a
exactly.
Yeah.
I got handed to the casters for fighting games in general
they're
because
really good.
They have to
That's a
focus
lot
on
harder.
everything, know
And-
all the technical terms, and whipping out an
Yeah,
instant.
like that's a really good segue because I
Yeah.
did want to talk about Evo, which is coming up at the time of this recording for in a couple weeks, but it'll probably be closer than that when you're listening to this. And Evo's a great example. All those guys, I don't understand how they do it. Marvel is a great example too.
Oh
if
my
you ever
goodness.
watch
yeah.
gosh.
Marvel vs. Capcom professionally, it is like, what the fuck is going on? Nothing makes any sense. They're throwing out terms, you're doing stuff, and it's a learning curve to be able to watch it, which
Yeah.
is not a good thing, in my opinion at least. It's like, it's a little bit like there's a barrier of entry there. But the commentators are so good, and in between games, sitting down and explaining what happened,
Mhm.
why they did this, why they did this. And I think it's just, like you said, you gotta give them props for that. It's so hard to do.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, so Evo's coming up. It's gonna be a lot of shit.
Yeah.
So Ultra Street Fighter 4 is there. I'm pretty sure it's Ultra. It's the newest one. It's
Yeah.
the newest iteration.
Mhm.
Marvel vs. Capcom. King of Fighters. Pumped about that.
right?
I watched that last year.
Awesome,
It was awesome to watch.
especially the finals where they knocked out I forgot who were the players, but they knocked out one of the players'
Oh.
two characters out, and then
Uh-huh.
he destroyed the other three characters with his last character.
With one character.
yeah,
And he destroyed them. Like, it was like, oh my god. It was unfair.
Yeah.
It's a really cool game to watch. Like, it's
Uh-huh.
very unique, and the minute it's interesting to watch because like Street Fighter, Marvel's fast paced. Like they get hit by something, then you have a setup on the incoming character, and a match can be over in 30.
There's much more entrapment.
Yeah,
in,
it's
Marvel
tough,
vs.
and there's a lot
Capcom.
more mix ups and
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
Street Fighter is much more of a chess match. It's
Mhm.
slower. People are just throwing out one hit moves. So that one's a little bit easier to follow. I feel like King of Fighters is kind of in the middle.
that's perfect. Actually, I was thinking
Yeah.
the same thing because it's a little faster than Street Fighter 4,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, it's not crazy like
No, you don't have
flashy as
Yeah.
Marvel.
like you don't, and you also don't normally, unless you're doing their super moves. You don't have really long combos, but sometimes it does get Marvel length combos, right? Because they hit them and then they activate that whatever that super mode is.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
they're comboing into one move over and over again. So stuff like that, it can be kind of Marvel-ish, but most of the time it's like, no, like we're going to slow down a little bit, and then it gets really fast-paced, and then we're going to slow down a little bit. So that's why I really liked watching King of Fighters. Also, that and the art style is amazing.
And
It was so good.
that's true, and this is also an interesting thing, like, watching these esports, it makes me more interesting in buying the game and actually
Oh,
playing it more
absolutely.
seriously.
Mhm.
Like,
Totally.
before,
Evo last year was what made me buy Marvel vs. Capcom.
Yeah.
My personal favorite thing about Evo last year was watching Justin Wong.
Yeah.
Like the unbelievable comebacks he did, like at
With
least
one character.
5 times
Yeah.
in a row in like different sets, and now every time someone makes a huge comeback in something in a fighting game, I'm just yelling out, Justin Wong.
Yeah, it's so true.
But yeah, absolutely. This is it's a great segue to help people who are ignorant to certain games really get into them to see the
Mhm.
absolute potential of
Yeah.
it. You know, we were talking to Daniel at the Smash tournament last weekend,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
and he was saying, yeah, what is it? I kind of liked Melee, but then watched Evo last year. I was like, holy crap! I had no idea there was such potential to this game, and now
Mhm.
he's like super into it
Yep.
and stuff.
And that's what the...
Not this Dan, another Dan.
Oh, yeah, we're talking about another Dan, actually. But yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah,
Sure.
shout outs to you. You are awesome.
And you did an excellent tournament. It was
Yeah.
an amazing experience.
It was
Thank
so
you
much
very
fun.
much.
But yeah, that's kind of that's what's kind of interesting about this.
Yeah.
Is like, that's where it's starting to get there now.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel, the person who ran this tournament,
Yeah.
great guy, was in high school.
Yeah.
So he's a little bit younger than us. And I know a lot of people that age that are like, what, esports? Yeah, sure. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care. What do you mean they're a joke? I watch them all the time.
Exactly.
It's already going. It's already begun. And this is what they tried to do with soccer, to make a parallel, a few years ago. And now we're just starting to get to the point where those people are growing up and they're having kids. Those kids are going to be into soccer, watching it.
Uh-huh.
And that's what's happening now.
Yeah, the newer generation is really melding into it. I feel like our generation was a much more awkward in between generation.
It is,
of
because
it.
I know a lot of people that think, why would you ever watch esports? Why would you ever watch other people play video games our age?
Mhm.
There's a lot of people like that. In the same token, there's a lot of other people that watch those things. The three
Right.
of us,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We watch them. We play them. We're into it.
and we know a good chunk of people who also do.
Our
Yeah.
kids, my nephew, is a great example, will probably be into that.
Yeah.
He'll probably be like, yeah, that's totally legitimate.
Uh-huh.
At that point, you don't even need to question it.
Right.
When
That's-
there's a lot of questioning going on right now.
That's very interesting because I also have a nephew around the same age, and I kid you not, sometimes all day he'll just watch Skylander videos on YouTube and seeing other
Oh my
5-year-olds having reviews on each Skylander action figure and then watching them play to see if he wants to buy it. And that's
Yeah?
and he's only 4.
Yeah!
Your nephew is awesome.
My nephew does the same thing. He's like, I don't know if I want to get that Skylander. And so they review it, and they go online, and they make sure, and then he's like, okay, I'll get it. So it's like, it's really interesting, because that's the new generation.
Yeah.
But where we are right now, though, is, are esports legitimate? Personally, I mean, I think they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can safely say all 3 of us in this room.
Yeah.
Think that they are.
Yeah.
And I don't need any other proof but League of Legends. If a sport is legitimate due to its audience, then League of Legends is a legitimate esport. There's no question. Because you were showing us, they sell out stadiums. I mean, it's ridiculous how many people they have. How many viewers do you think League of Legends has on Twitch every day? Can you give me a ballpark at all? Like, I don't even know.
It depends. Like, for certain players like Hotshot GG, there'll be 20,000.
Yeah,
And
easy,
then
right?
some
Like,
people, yeah, easy 20,000. And some people only be 3,000, but
Mhm.
still. And that's
Yeah.
just them streaming just on like 1 or 2 hours on a day on like a Tuesday
On a
night.
casual day.
Yeah, on a casual day. It wouldn't be a game, like, it wouldn't be a competitive game, it would just be them streaming.
like practicing or just streaming or.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were talking about this earlier. Or I was talking about this earlier with somebody else. Is the tournaments can draw? I mean, how much did the World Finals last year draw? Wasn't it something ridiculous like 200,000?
Yeah, it was over 100,000 views.
Just on Twitch.
Oh
And
my
that
gosh.
doesn't include Korea, China, all of those.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't include that. It's just America. 100,000 people just watching in America.
Yeah.
At one time.
Uh-huh.
It got over 2 million views throughout the whole day.
Mm-hmm.
So people tuning in and out. I mean, that's crazy to me. And what's interesting is that, Riot Games is who makes League of Legends. And they seem to have made this kind of culture around Twitch that they kind of live there now.
Yeah,
Like, League of Legends lives on
That's
Twitch.
the edge they have over other competitive games. Is
Yeah.
that it's like much more interactive with the streaming interface. Now, other games have jumped on the bandwagon.
Yeah, they have.
But they're probably not quite as finesse
yeah.
as League of Legends. But like even now, what is it like? Even Smash, which has no online capabilities of its own,
Uh-huh.
they're streaming games
Yeah.
all the time.
That's true.
24/7 VG Bootcamp
And I mean,
and stuff like that.
VG Bootcamp will get, sometimes 10,000 viewers for a weekly, just a
Mhm.
weekly local event,
Yeah.
wherever he is. I don't know, it's somewhere on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And that's crazy in and of itself, because Smash isn't a big game.
No, it's an old
It's-
game.
It's
if you think about
it's
it.
like a relatively small audience.
Melee is nothing short of a miracle.
Yeah, it really is. It's a total happy accident.
Yeah.
I think we talk about that a lot, but it's totally true. Like,
Even beyond just like its gameplay, the fact that it's lived so long, it's basically lived hard, died, and is living again,
yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
So, I mean, it's interesting because Twitch allows all of these games to have a platform.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so easy for people to just get online and stream.
Right.
And I mean, with the new consoles, just having the ability to stream to Twitch,
Yeah.
just with a push of a button, they can stream to Twitch. That's so easy for them. I don't know. The only way I see it going in popularity is up.
Absolutely.
I think my only problem is that if we reach kind of like a point of where we can't grow, like the audience is kind of stagnated, but we're still trying to do these lavish productions. You know what I mean? MLG is a good example. If MLG didn't make enough money this weekend, that could be a potential huge cost sink for them that they'll never get back.
But
So smaller leagues like that
mhm.
are kind of getting dwarfed by League of Legends.
So you're
You know what I mean?
you're thinking about the middlemen.
Yeah,
people.
no, and
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
League of Legends I think will keep growing. I hope that Riot still has the money
Now
in
okay.
2 years to be able to keep doing that. I think they will.
How long has League of Legends been like popular and pro-ish like this?
It's hard to
That's a
say
good question.
because
How old is the game?
I'm not even exactly sure.
I think it.
There's only 4 seasons right now. Like we're on the 4th season right now.
Mhm.
So I gotta
It's still
say,
pretty new.
yeah, so it's still
yeah.
pretty new, and it's growing dramatically, like popularity all the
Yeah.
time, and competitively, it's getting more and more intense every year too.
Mhm.
There's already people retiring from League of Legends
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
just because they can't keep up with, oddly enough, with the new young group of people joining in.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because they have
Absolutely.
better reactions and they're going to
Better
be.
reflexes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the thing is, like, with League of Legends, they have updates weekly, but they also have big giant updates like yearly that changes the game dramatically. And a lot
So
of old
it's
players,
not just exactly. It's not just keeping up with the young bucks and their reaction skills.
keeping
It's
up with the
keeping
game.
up with the game itself, which
yeah,
is exhausting.
it is. And like some of the older players, like Odd One, couldn't keep up with the new meta because, like, for example, I'm gonna use Odd One. He's a jungler who, like, junglers before were more tanky and now and supportive. Now junglers have to be a lot more. They have to set up ganks and set up kills for.
So
Oh,
basically,
teammates.
they used to be defensive, and now they have to be like aggressive, sort of.
Yeah,
Okay.
and very aggressive very early on because before they had to be aggressive when they hit level 6, and now it's like no, they have to make plays within like level 2 or level 3.
You know, this
Okay.
is the reason why I'm personally pretty critical about competitive card playing. Among other things, these production companies are like so like extreme about changing things up so darn often, I feel like.
And I mean, that's definitely a worry that comes in because a lot of people would argue that things like Melee and Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and now 3 are better because they just, after a while, don't touch them. The problem is Melee will get to a point, and it already kind of has, where a certain subset of characters are not viable at all. And that's in tournament play. At high
And
level
competitively.
tournament.
Pikachu.
Pikachu is mid tier. We will never see a Game & Watch win a major.
I'm so blindly faithful to this series. Like seeing
It's-
X rise so high just gave me new hopes for like its insane potential. You have to admit, like
No,
the
there's a
potential
lot of
it has
potential.
right now
No, there's
is
a lot of
absolutely
potential.
insanity.
The problem is that Smash's potential is held a lot within its top tier characters as well.
It's true.
Fox's potential has not been touched. It will never be touched because a human can't possibly get to the level where Fox is perfect, right? Or Fox is not perfect. Perfect's the wrong word. They will never get to the level where Fox has hit his like human
Limit.
potential. I think that's already kind of happened for many of the mid-tier characters. The top tiers have forever. That's what makes them, in my opinion, top tier. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is that it's been 13 years, and I don't think you're gonna see a Kirby just come out of nowhere and start swallow-siding people and winning tournaments. It's just not gonna happen. And I think that's fine, but a balance update would be really interesting. Fix Game & Watch's shield. Fix Kirby's floatiness to weight ratio.
Yeah.
Do some things to the lower tier and mid tier characters. Then see what happens.
Would you say just the newer games, such as like Project M, is a viable like alternate to that?
So that's what I'm saying is like Project M is interesting because they do updates. So they are more like League of Legends, right?
But
Is that they do these updates and they balance these characters.
now, are they going to continue to balance their existing characters? Like,
I'm pretty sure.
We haven't really seen much at all since they released all the characters, but they said they're doing more.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean they're
Yeah.
and they're going to be doing balance updates. I'm pretty sure they call them balance updates.
But it's
So-
probably not gonna be as like often because these people
No.
who do Project M, they're doing it on their free time.
That's the
Yeah.
thing.
This is
yeah.
like a project made by love of the fans.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, so it's kind of interesting because like Melee, Marvel, they haven't been touched. They've never been updated. Nobody's done anything with them. I both think they're very good games. If somebody outside came in and looked at the top 5 characters and went, "Those are bullshit. I don't want to watch this game," I wouldn't really blame them. For several reasons. Because, number one, you're going to be seeing a lot of the same characters. And it's not because a lot of people think this, it's not because, well, everybody thinks those characters are good, so everybody plays them. No, it's because they've been playing this game for 13 years, and they know which characters are the best characters. They will be playing those characters. Makes sense to me.
Right.
And I think an outside person's going to go, why are there so many Foxes? I mean, this already happened to me once. I told a friend, go watch Melee. He said, yeah, I really like this guy's Marth.
Yeah.
But I hate seeing so many foxes. Like, I've seen
I
3
agree
fox
with that.
mirror
I
matches.
agree with that.
And I'm like, I get it. And he goes, and also, I have not seen a Luigi at all. And I'm like, oh, yeah, well, like, Luigi's mid-tier. Like, he's not bad, but not many people play him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little difficult for this friend of mine, I'm not going to mention his name or anything, but for him to be like, oh, well, then I'd be really interested. He was not, because he was like, I want to see a wider range of characters on display.
Okay, League of Legends has, like, a massive amount of updates, but just, like, these fighter games,
Mm-hmm.
are there any that do not have a tier list?
No.
No.
It's impossible not to.
Yeah.
If you think about it from really from a game development perspective, it's impossible not to have a tier list.
Right.
Because
So-
you're going to objectively have characters that are better than certain other characters.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
And in a way, it's like that's kind of like a real life. For example, taller people would be better at basketball.
That's a
And-
really good point.
to
Actually,
a degree.
Yeah,
To a degree.
like, and
Well-
you'll still see like not like 6'7" people in basketball. Like you'll see like Steve Nash is like 6'1",
yeah.
for example, but you don't see too many Steve Nashes.
That's exactly the point.
Like
Axe
it's not
is a Steve Nash.
it's not
yeah,
impossible,
right.
but they're exception to the rule.
Exactly. And that's what I think personally. You see a lot of, in Street Fighter, you see, for instance, you would see, I don't know the current meta character name at all, but for a while, Yun was the most popular and best character in the game.
Uh-huh.
Saw a shit ton of Yuns. You never once saw Hakan. There would be that one guy that practiced with Hakan to make him good,
Yeah.
and then he'd lose to a Yun who sat in the corner. Because what can Hakan do against a Yun who sits in a corner? Nothing. That's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
They fixed it. A balance update came out. Hakan got a little bit better. Yun got terrible. Right?
Uh-huh.
And they kind of shortened things up a little bit and made things more interesting. So I don't know, it's just an interesting thing. Do you update it every week, every month, every couple months?
And
Or do you just let it go? Because what would happen, and this is the other question too, what would happen from a viewership perspective for esports with Melee if Nintendo gave an update to Melee? Okay, we're dreaming here, hardcore.
Yeah.
But they came out with Melee HD, and they said it's going to contain a balance update.
Mm.
Feedback from the community, whole fucking 9 yards like Capcom would do.
Yeah.
Right? What would happen? Would characters start to see play, and we would see kind of other characters start moving up the tier list? Would we see the whole tier list just get absolutely messed up? And now suddenly there's higher characters, but Fox and Falco have been nerfed too much, so they're the worst characters in the game?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you would see. And at the same time, what would that do to the player base and to the viewers?
Yeah.
Would a viewer
I
tune in
think
and
it would
see-
heavily divide the viewers.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because we've been playing the game for 13 years.
Absolutely.
truth be told, like, the thing is, competitive gamers is, like, just like with every other sport, they are very competitive. Even if you change, like, the character, like, top-tier characters, they'll just go to the new top-2 characters,
Yep.
too.
That's the thing, too. So, let's say Game & Watch is now the new best character in the game. Right. I can fucking dream. I can dream, alright?
Yeah.
Well, I love Game & Watch, but he's now the best character in the game.
Mhm.
Everybody would just play.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's just the mindset I would like. I don't want people to give up so easily, you know?
Well, that's the
It's
thing.
just kind of a hard thing
Yeah.
where it's like, in Smash, there is still potential to the other characters.
No,
and
there
I
is.
do believe that. And I just don't like seeing people just, like, copying, what you're supposed to
So
do, you know?
I agree with you on a low level of play.
Mhm.
Like a League of Legends player, let's say there's a champion that isn't very good, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. And a lower level player, because I'm guessing this happens a lot, is always going to pick the best characters, right?
Well,
Like a lower level player who watches a lot of League of Legends and follows the scene, maybe is a better way to put that.
yeah, they'll probably pick more of the top-tier characters, but you
Mhm.
still see a lot of low-level characters in, like, solo queue. It's just as you go up from bronze to challenger,
Mhm.
you see more and more people pick towards the top 2 characters.
Okay.
But like even in the challenger scene, you still see occasional like mid-tier character
Okay.
wrecking everybody.
Yeah.
But they're not as often as you would see in a bronze or silver or
Okay.
gold.
Okay. So yeah, that's kind of. I guess that's kind of what I expected then. Yeah, that makes sense. But like, I don't know. I think that at a low level of play, if you're gonna go and just pick up Fox, right? Sure, you could go and pick up Fox to learn the game, but and you know what? If you're shooting for high level play, and you know that Fox is the best character in the game, and you've seen his potential, all right. If you want to do that, go ahead. But a lot of people who start out pick Fox or Marth because they're like, well, I can just shine, or I can just F smash with Marth. Or in Marvel, oh, I'll just pick Morrigan and do, Fireball spam the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Do her fucking
I hate that so much.
projectile spam, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what those people don't know is that the guy who invented that, Chris G, is really good at that.
Insanely intricate, yeah.
You
can't just
up,
pick that up and flood the screen.
You're not going to pick up that character and flood the screen. Exactly. You're not going to pick up that character and start winning.
Right.
So how about you pick a character you actually want to play?
Absolutely.
And stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, if you get to the point where you're like, I've hit the wall.
Yeah.
I can't go any further.
Right.
Pick up another character.
Mm-hmm.
Play another character. Go start playing Fox a little bit more. You have a handle on the game now. Maybe you've been winning tournaments and you want to keep winning.
Mm-hmm.
So you pick up a Fox on the side.
Yeah.
But, like you said, there's also the argument of people like Axe with Pikachu.
Right.
And Kage with Ganon.
Well, also, like, the thing is, a lot of these people, they play games for, everybody plays games for fun, and a lot of these people who, like, the mid-tier people who become really good, they play the mid-tier characters just because they like them a lot, and then they play them a lot because they like them a lot.
Yeah.
And eventually, they actually got pro with the characters, and then they just stuck with it.
Yeah.
You just have this small margin, I think, of people who they have such a back burner to having fun or just enjoying the game, and it's just winning on their mind. And I can see those people just constantly dropping stuff and trying to start over because it's like, oh, I couldn't beat this guy. I'm done with this character. I have to pick a new character.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a significant problem, right? And that's a problem that a tier list like that creates.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're like, oh, I'll just drop him and I'll go pick up Jigglypuff.
Yeah.
And then, oh, that didn't work. I'll go drop it and I'll... That's the mindset of somebody who, like you said, wants to win all the time.
Right, absolutely.
So would a balance update help that?
I don't know. I personally do not want to see Smash do that because I feel like the new, like, just the newer Smash games in Project M, it does enough of that change in the right amount of time, I feel like. I don't think Smash should be a constant update thing like League of Legends. Or even like Blaze Blue. I'm terrible at that game, but that I personally think that one has such a huge learning curve.
No, it does.
And they're changing up the system.
Traditional
and
fighting
even
games usually do.
Even like a few of my friends who are really big Blaze Blue fans were just not into this new one at all and just dropped it. And it's like, that's kind of sad, you know?
That's true.
But the thing is, updates could change that. Like, for example, it could be annoying because that one new character is super overpowered, but an update could change that and then balance everything out.
It's not even between nerfing and like not nerfing. It's just like with Blaze Blue, everything changed and you had to almost relearn everything, you know? With the newer game.
I get that.
That's so much more overwhelming in my opinion than just nerfing.
And like I said, this is a hard topic.
And
I see what you're saying.
It also kills the lifespan of gamers.
Well, okay, so I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that's why it's a hard topic for me, because it's like, I don't know if I would want to see Melee have a balance update, because we haven't really seen the potential. A lot of people think right now that Fox is the best character in the game for most people. But pretty soon there's going to be a resurgence in Marth, because Marth, in a lot of cases, beats Fox.
Yeah.
So pretty soon you're going to be seeing a lot of people play Marth.
Way back in the day, Sheik was top tier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're at this point where I'm like, I don't know.
Melee's such a mystery. I don't think we've seen the ceiling yet.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
But also, one thing is, like, just, like, professional players, they don't always just play one character. A lot of times, they play a wide range of characters. So if somebody picks Fox, they're like, alright, well, I'll play Marth and counterpicked it.
I think
and that's what they do
I
in
think
League
that's
of Legends a lot.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
uh-huh.
that's definitely a gamer level thing too. Because right
Yeah.
now I'm just like really thinking about like getting better at Melee, and it's like I think about other characters, but I'm like, no, I'm not ready for it yet. I have to get a lot better at my Sheik
You
first.
have
Yeah.
to stick with the character.
Yeah,
You absolutely do.
you have to have one that you're really, really, really good at.
That you're
before
devoted
you think
to.
about another.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's, I don't know. That's a tough question for me because I'm like, do you keep the game fresh with a balance update for its viewers and you so new characters are coming up, or do you let it just happen and see what happens?
For me, I think, like, for fighting games, they should have a balance update once a year. It doesn't have to be, like, a massive, huge one, but enough to, like,
change things up.
to change things up. For example, they don't only have to nerf, like, top-tier characters. To tell you the truth, they can just make every other character steroid. Make everybody
That's
OP.
what I think
Mhm.
Project
So-
M did. You know,
I was
it
just gonna
made
say
all of the not top tier characters a lot better.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, I think that's what
Skullgirls.
Skullgirl.
That's a great philosophy.
You're reading my mind here. Yeah, Skullgirls did that because I think Mike Z was the creator of that, and he said on a stream once, he was like, "Yeah, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to nerf a bunch of people, so I'm just gonna make everybody better."
Yeah.
And then it ended up being really tight, balance-wise. Like, there wasn't a lot of difference. There's definitely top-tier characters, but there's not a lot of difference.
Which is really great. I
And-
mean,
Yeah, the thing with fighting games is since they have a lot, like, a smaller character pool than League of Legends, they
Mhm.
could do that. With League of Legends,
Yeah.
they can't do that with, like, more than 100 characters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, and that's why Smash, when it's getting close to 50 characters, is going to be super hard. And we've already know from Sakurai, he doesn't know how to balance a game. Like,
He doesn't, because he's not competitive.
he's not competitive.
Like, he has no experience of competitive gaming.
Yeah, yeah. So he's not going to know how to balance a game. So that's what I'm worried about most. Is there going to be one character that's just going to wreck everybody, and it's going to be like, ooh, that's going to be bad. But Nintendo has said before for Smash that they do want to experiment with updating stuff, and they did say they might make changes to characters in those updates. It depends entirely on what people want to do, but that could be kind of an interesting. We could be seeing updates for the new Smash. Who knows, right? I don't know.
And I think that's a good thing, because, for example, like, a lot of times when they're testing a game, they won't know, like, certain glitches until the audience get their hands on it.
Yep,
Look at Meta Knight.
exactly. Yeah,
For example,
Whoa.
of that Halo 2, like, they didn't see as many glitches until the game came out.
and then
Absolutely.
everybody got their hands on it.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
So that's why updates I think are necessary, because that way it gives developers a chance to at least fix the game. If they don't want balance it, they could
Mhm.
just fix it.
Yeah. So that's an interesting discussion. Obviously, like, do you update it? Do you let it rock?
it's
Right,
it's
like-
a really tough call.
Yeah.
It depends on the game too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I did want to talk about this though because we talked a little bit about League of Legends and then fighting games and Smash in that discussion. Another one I want to bring up is like League of Legends is far and away the most popular one. What do you guys think makes League of Legends popular and keeps Street Fighter at the level of like, well, I'll watch EVO every year, but I don't know about any of the other tournaments?
Well, like with League of Legends, like going to the updating thing, updates, they make it popular competitively because it keeps everybody learning the game, and they're constantly learning the game, and it
Okay.
changes it for them. Like I remember X Special support player for TSM, he said that if it wasn't for the updates, he would have been done with competitive League of Legends within a year, just because it gets boring and tiring. But with the updates, it keeps everything new and exciting.
Okay, that's really interesting. So, is that like on a popularity wise? You think week to week that has something to do with it for players like tuning in?
And yeah, because they're like, what's so great about League of Legends? You're always learning about the game.
Okay.
And there's never a cap off where you're not learning, or it's like, I think I've learned everything about it.
See, that's really interesting. I guess I wasn't expecting that answer. And
'Cause,
that,
like I was gonna say, for League of Legends, it is very competitive. A lot of these professional gamers, they practice 12 hours a day, and that's the thing with them is also, it's not just the fact they're like professional gamers, is that they only play this game for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And League of Legends seasons are ridiculously long. They have like a month break between each season, and then it goes
right back into the next one.
Yeah.
Wow. See, and that's crazy to me, because, like, I think about, like, the tournament season for Street Fighter. There's never a league for Street Fighter. Like, they just started the Capcom Pro Tour, which is the thing. And Capcom basically made this Pro Tour. But the Pro Tour is basically just grassroots tournaments throughout the year that occasionally they'll just stick their name on and hold a Pro Tour event at that grassroots tournament. Something like League of Legends, where you were telling me it happens in the fucking Nokia Theater every week.
Yeah.
Where they just come in the morning on Saturdays and Sundays and have League of Legends for an audience of thousands. That's amazing. And that's so far and away from all these other esports.
Right.
StarCraft 2 was the biggest esport of all time in, like, 2012. It was enormous. Everybody was into StarCraft. Everybody was watching people like Huck play. Huck was he was a Canadian, but lived in America for a while. And they were watching him play against the Koreans and giving them a run for his money. And then League of Legends came on the scene and went, hey, every week you can watch people play, and you never have to worry about there being a month break from tournaments. And you can go right now and watch everything of League of Legends right now on YouTube. You can catch up with it. You can play it. Go right now. And then on a week-to-week basis, sometimes on a day-to-day basis, you tune in and have content.
So what it sounds like is like a good chunk of their success came to nurturing their audience a lot better.
That's the thing that I think you were talking about with the updates, where they keep things fresh, and every day you go on Twitch and you have things to watch. And I felt like StarCraft, Blizzard would be like, oh, there's a tournament in a month and a half. Great. We'll prepare for the tournament. We'll put on an update every year. And suddenly League of Legends came on the scene, and now you can play it, you can watch it, and you can, study it every single day.
Yeah.
And that's genius. That's genius. That's even better than the NFL or the NBA, which has an off season. And really, that's the thing too. Is like League of Legends is a year-long thing. It doesn't need another game to take up space.
And if there's one thing, like, people like us, I would say, like, just gamers and stuff, we like to obsess.
No, we totally do.
So.
We like to obsess. We like to follow the players, too.
Yeah,
exactly.
We listen to the game directors.
Yeah, like, you get into it.
Yeah.
And you live it.
Right.
And I feel like, like you were saying, it really, they nurtured their audience better. I mean, if Capcom came out and went, every week from this studio in California, we're going to have games from pro players every week. And then the pro players were there and they're playing and they're getting a salary from it, that would be awesome. But that's not the way it works. Every month, every couple months, in the fall, there's no Street Fighter, no fighting game tournaments. None. And then suddenly in January it all starts ramping up again, and then it goes up to EVO, and then there's none again.
Right.
And so there's a genuine off-season. And I think League of Legends, it's less that it's almost like it's less than it's just like was a lucky one. It's less about the gameplay that made it popular. It's almost like it's more that it's you have things going on all the time. It's always on somebody's mind.
Yeah, right.
It is, and you gotta give Riot claps for that because they listen to their audience a lot, and
nobody took that into so much consideration before.
yeah, and they have
that aspect.
They do have weekly conversations with fans, and they try to when they come up with these balances, you see the stresses on them because there's a lot of difference skill cap between a bronze player
Mhm.
and then a challenger player. Like one character might be OP in a bronze section, but in the challenger section, they figure out how to destroy them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then one character wouldn't be will be ridiculously good in the challenger, but in a bronze section, because our skill levels aren't as good as them, they're not much of a threat. And also with Riot Games, they want to make esports legit.
That's the other thing about it. Their focus.
They
is
set up
esports.
tournaments. They find casters for it.
Mm-hmm.
They set up streams, productions. They help find the teams for it too, and they give support to the players.
They care about the audience and they love the community.
That's the thing that a lot of people, and I don't know much about the StarCraft 2 scene. StarCraft 2 very much fell off the grid. It's not popular anymore. And really what happened is that Blizzard went, well, you guys are fine. We won't update the game. We won't do anything. We're just gonna go away.
And I feel like that's the same dealio with a lot of these other amazing fighting games that came from the bigger regular producer companies.
Yeah.
Riot is kind of unique in its own way. It's they feel more like one of us. As opposed to where all these other competitive games are the fans are basically fending for themselves to make this popular, as after the production company just plopped it out there, not knowing what the heck would happen.
Yeah.
Nintendo is a prime example with Smash.
It's a fucking great example.
Yeah.
They were just have at it, alright, have fun. And then they didn't
after-
even acknowledge the
After
competitive scene for 7 years.
14 freaking years, they're finally giving it some support.
And even Sakurai doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Even he's no, I'm not going to take advice from you guys. I'm making the game the way I want to make it.
Yeah.
And it's even that.
And all these things is also because the companies, for example, Capcom and Activision, they just care about the money coming in.
Right, exactly.
And they don't necessarily see the potential of, esports themselves. Or see an effort in supporting it. Because, doing constant updates or listening to listening to the fans for feedback, that actually takes a lot of effort from the company that the big corporation sees, well, you can just make a new game. With that effort. Why release updates when you can just make a different game?
That's a really good point. I mean, and that's kind of that's why I brought up the update thing earlier. That's why I brought up.
But I think that's a fair thing to ponder on because you always have that wonder of like we said before, a new update could possibly chop off an amount of the audience, as opposed to a new game will have an audience continue with it, but the older audience who don't want to change still have the older game, kind of thing.
So, and that's
very true.
That's once again that's the part of that discussion,
right?
You still have the old game. You can still go back to it. You can still play it.
Yeah.
And then the discussion comes: do you not like change?
Right.
And then it's well, it's not that. It's just I think the old game's better. So it's
there's one thing you said before, Dan, that I would like to put my own iteration on, as you were saying that these new updates with League of Legends help the players evolve. I would personally term that more as adaptation.
Oh no.
Where
the biggest skill in League of Legends is not the reflexes or even memorization stats, is adapting to the new metas.
Yeah, exactly. But I would more term evolution towards what Melee is. Sticking with the same thing, finding new things and growing.
okay.
with the same setting. Kind of thing.
I think that's a good description.
Yeah, evolution and adaptation, and I think there's an audience for both. In the gaming.
But I think what makes a game more popular, by your definition, is adaptation. Because there's always new things. And in evolution, there is new things, occasionally. But evolution is very much a fine-tuning process.
Yeah, and the evolution fighting process requires a core audience just diving in more and more and more and more, as opposed to adaptation where
it can bring
the core adapts, but then there's new people jumping into something new, and they're like, oh, this is cool. But at the same time, there's always that slight possibility where the adaptation method just like knocks off those casual players again, because they were kind of into it, but then everything changes, and they're like, what just happened, kind of thing, you know?
And I think that's an interesting point to bring up, and I think that's why the weekly changes. It does change weekly, right?
Yeah, it does. They have small, it's like small weekly tuning,
updates.
And then they have like 1 or 2 big updates within a year, but then small weekly like updates, changes. Like just numbers, basically.
Yeah. I mean...
But... Also, like, this, like, get away from Smash for a second. Let's look at Street Fighter 4. You can argue that each new Street Fighter 4 game could have been just an update.
Yeah.
But then Capcom, it's just like, no, let's not update the game. Let's just make a new game and charge them $40 extra.
And that is a huge problem for casual gamers. They hate that, because then they pay $40 and it's really a balance update. Tournament goers are going to be like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'll pay whatever you want me to.
And that's what turned me off from Marvel vs. Capcom. I bought it when it first came out. 6 months later,
Ultimate,
they had a new game.
Yeah.
And that is a totally legitimate point. And that is one of my problems with... Now, Smash, it's been, I don't know how long since Brawl. What, 6 years?
Yeah,
6
so
years
they
since
need
Brawl.
a new game.
So they need a new game.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Capcom does that thing like Street Fighter where they're just pushing out games.
BlazBlue
every couple
is
months.
Doing it too.
It kind of is. They try to wait, but occasionally they're like, nah, all right, whatever. Let's get a new game in there.
The second one, they did that. It was like BlazBlue and then BlazBlue, the same second one, Ultimate with a couple other characters, kind of thing. And they're doing that with the new Persona. The new Persona 4 Battle Arena, they're just coming out with a new one. Is it just a few more characters?
It's
kind of thing?
3 more characters, and it is a balance update, and there is some new features of it. I actually played it in Japan, and I'm personally excited for it. But yeah, it's not that big of a change. But like, I guess it could have been an update. But then again, you gotta think about it from a corporate standpoint. It's like that's how they make money.
Yeah, so, and that's an interesting...
And it's just hard finding the line in between where it's like supporting your fans and then just
making money.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, that's why I think so many things are moving towards this free-to-play model, where you have people pay for, updates, extra stuff.
Yeah. And that's
that you don't necessarily need to play the game well, but like cosmetic stuff. People pay for that.
Though you could argue, little by little, they're abusing that process.
I think most games are, but I think League of Legends does an okay job with not doing that.
Okay.
And I think, that's so. Is that where we're going? Are we? Because this is my final point for this is, I see how popular League of Legends is, and that's really what I think is that since it's changing and since it's this free-to-play thing, and it's this constantly evolving, and there's always stuff going on, and it never gets old, quote-unquote, that it just keeps gaining an audience. Because new players come in, here's the other thing about this, new players come in, and they don't look at, 2 years, like for Marvel vs. Capcom, they don't look at 2 years of stuff and go, I have to learn all that. They go, what is League of Legends now?
Right.
Well, I can be a pro now with that. May not be true, right? But they look at it and they go, well, there was an update 2 months ago that changed everything. So I have 2 months of stuff to learn versus 2 years of stuff.
Yeah.
And you can watch League of Legends and you can learn everything in an instant. Now, there's some terms like gank and stuff like that where you're like, oh, I guess I better look that up. You watch Marvel, or you watch Melee, or you watch Street Fighter, and it's like, you have to do that, and then you have to appreciate what goes into that process.
Right.
What goes into spacing in Melee.
Mm-hmm.
What goes into the chess match of Street Fighter. In League of Legends, you can just be hype because somebody just ganked somebody else and killed them, and you're like, woo!
Yeah. But that's not to say, like, there are any technical things.
No, that's not what I'm
saying. Or just strategies.
I should correct myself. You're absolutely right. That's not what I meant. Just more so the update side of it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you don't need to learn 2 years of stuff. You don't need to learn all this other stuff.
You don't need to look at League of Legends for, like, 3 years ago to understand it right now.
Exactly. You can just go in, you can understand it, and I think the gameplay helps with that. Whereas something like Street Fighter, you kind of need to take some time to learn it. I mean, obviously it's two people hitting each other, but to really appreciate what they're doing and how hard that is takes a little bit of thought and effort. Yeah. Whereas in League of Legends, it's like, you know how hard that is. Yeah. Right? Because you can play one match and be like, shit, dude, that was hard. Right? Like,
or look at their strategies and how can you coordinate that with your teammates?
Yeah,
that's crazy. I never even thought about doing that.
Yeah, like that guy just came over from, halfway across the map, and they teamed up on that one guy. Like, man, that would be so hard to coordinate that. Right. And then in Street Fighter, you're like, haha, I can do a fireball now. That's what you learn in 1 week. Versus what you learn in 1 week for League of Legends is a lot of other different information.
I think all in all, I guess this will be my closing statement with this whole thing is like constant updates or keeping the game the same is I would just like the option between the two
and I get that.
Like, because I would definitely say that there's a huge audience with both. And like for me, I enjoy the consistency of a game rather than constant updates because yes, you have this thing where it's like, oh, I don't have to learn everything in the past because things keep changing and I can get into the pro circuit faster. But to me personally, I see that as, okay, you're in, but things changed again. And it wears on your stamina a lot harder. And like once you've invested the time in it, the payoff is a lot less.
So as a competitive player then, I may agree with you. Mm-hmm. But my points for the last couple minutes here, well, more than that, actually. This has been kind of long. But have been about the viewers themselves.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's why League of Legends is so popular. So from that perspective,
true.
There are audiences for both. There's going to be an audience for Melee. It's probably going to be huge in EVO this year. Mm-hmm. Right? We don't know how huge it's going to be, but it's probably going to be a shitload of people watching it. Mm-hmm.
And also,
it's never going to get bigger than League of Legends.
Keep in mind, these professional League of Legends players, they do play the games 10 hours to 12 hours every day.
Uh-huh.
So imagine a professional like Mango playing Smash, doesn't have a job, and just plays it for 12 hours a day. Yeah. After a while, he might eventually say, no, I need a new game. Or I need an update.
And that's the thing.
Like, they don't have other jobs. This is their life for League of Legends.
But a lot of pros have been getting into Project M now.
Yeah, but do they have other jobs, other schools? Do they spend 3 hours a day playing it? Or do they spend 12, 10, 16 hours a day playing it?
Well, it's hard to say with these, like, sponsored, like, professional team people.
Well, Hungrybox is sponsored. Sure, he's a curse
but he's got an internship.
But he has an internship, and he's going to have a career.
Yeah.
PPMD is a grad student in psychology.
Yeah,
Mango has a kid, and he also works another job.
Yeah, no one else can do what League does.
And I don't know if that contributes to it being huge, like just super popular, but I would say so. I think that's an aspect of it. I really do.
Yeah.
And like the thing is, the part reason why they also enjoy it, like Melee for so long without having an update, is the fact that they're only playing it for like 2 or 3 hours a day and not 12 hours a day.
And the other part of that is I think a lot of Smash players play with friends.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of break time of like, I'm going to play my Fox for real to I'm going to go play Ness for a while.
Yeah.
And
so
there is a social aspect to it where you're just like a lot of times you don't realize you're getting better because you've just been playing with your friends and it doesn't seem like work. It's just fun.
Yeah. So I mean that's a really good argument. Like can you play Smash 12 hours a day, and do you eventually hit a wall, and is that quicker than League of Legends? The truth is nobody's tried it, because Smash isn't big enough for someone to be at their life. M2K is the only one. Why do you think he plays so many characters? That's the other argument, too.
Oh, there you go,
right?
yeah.
He plays every character in the game. That's probably why, right? Because, I mean, that's his life.
Technically, maybe he's walling, but I think he still has a ways to go with reading people.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think as a player, he might. And there's still chance for the game, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like these players would hit a wall with the way they currently are. If they would hit a wall, if it goes, pro, if it becomes an esport, a true esport, and then suddenly everybody's playing 12 hours a day, would you eventually hit a wall with Melee? I don't know.
So hard to say.
It's so hard to say because, like you said, it has so much potential.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's the same thing with things like Street Fighter and Marvel. If this was people's jobs 24/7, would you need to do updates to keep it fresh?
Right.
It's hard. It's hard to say.
And with like the fighting games and League of Legends potential-wise, I don't think you could ever compare the two, because League could have that potential, but with the updates, you'll never know, I don't think.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could look at other computer games and see why they are no longer popular, or aren't as popular, like StarCraft 2, or like a lot of other competitive
and that's another good point,
because they don't have as much support, and League of Legends is getting a lot more, like, it has a lot of support, and it's continuously getting more popular.
So would you say they would have shorter roofs if they didn't update?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because eventually, people will get bored of it. Like I mentioned earlier, X Special said, if it wasn't for the updates, I would have been done within a year.
And it's like it's like the point you brought back when why it's so popular is like casual viewer wise, it keeps it a lot more interesting, kind of thing.
That's definitely true.
As opposed to like you have the core audience who wants to see the max potential, but then you have a lot of other people who's like, oh, what's this? This is cool, kind of thing. And like as casual people seeing foxes on the screen all day, it'll drive them away pretty quickly.
Yeah, and even if they do get into it, do they get at a point where they get sick of seeing Fox? And actually, I just thought of this, so I'll just say this real quick. That's kind of what happened with Marvel for me. Is I started seeing Morgan and Zero, and I got bored of watching it.
I got bored of Online Blaze Blue because there was literally nothing but Ragnus.
And and that's unfortunate because of Blaze Blue. It's certainly more balanced than other fighters, but you still see like people playing the same 3 characters.
Yeah, it's really true.
Yeah, and like League of Legends, they do have that problem with a lot of the characters are they're OP, but the thing is like the top tier characters, they only stay top tier for like 6 months, and after that they switch. Look at a character like Ezreal. He used to be ridiculously popular last year, and now it's all Lelouch because he just fits the current meta. Better.
Yeah.
Than Ezreal.
All right. Well, that was a really good discussion.
Yeah. I enjoyed that. Dan, thank you for being on this discussion with us. You had some amazing points.
I'm really, really glad you came on.
No problem. This was enjoyable. I feel like I could talk about this more.
Dude,
seriously.
We've run so long, we have to, like, contain
ourselves. But, yeah, we are... I would love to bring you back on at some point if I start getting into League of Legends. Because at this point, I want to start watching it, maybe start playing it at some point.
Yeah.
If I can get my computer to be a little bit better, I will.
Honestly,
I will at some point.
I think for me, I might enjoy watching it, but personally, I'm too invested in Smash to really start. To really, it's so far from anything.
Yeah,
that's Smash or any console games. Like I'm a total tard when it comes to PC gaming. I played a couple matches of League, and I was punching a statue, which is like probably the worst thing you could do in a game afterwards. My friends were yelling at me, just go hide in a bush! Which actually you were supposed to do with the character. It's that robot guy with the arm.
Oh, that's correct?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. In short, I was terrible.
So yeah, if I do start watching a little bit more League of Legends, maybe we'll have you on later in the year
Absolutely.
We'll talk about
League
some
talk.
more esports, some more
Yeah.
League of Legends, and
I'm completely
more
down for that.
smashes
This
and
has been an
fighting
enjoyable
games.
experience. for
Yeah.
me.
Excellent.
all right. Well, we're gonna go because
Thank
it's
you
been
for
over an hour.
joining us, guys. Enjoy Evo.
Yes, enjoy Evo. You can find us at
Oh yeah, our links.
Twitter at Fanvoice Podcast or at Fanvoice.
At Fanvoice Podcast,
Yes.
YouTube.com/The Fanvoice Podcast, Facebook.com/The Fanvoice Podcast.
You find us on our website at thefanvoice.com.
And our
use the
email.
contact sheet on there. You
Oh
can
yeah,
contact
yeah.
us
Give us some
if you
special
need to.
messages.
Yeah, for sure.
And our email fan@thefanvoice.com.
Yep, for longer messages. So we will see you guys next time. Enjoy Evo. Enjoy whatever is happening in League of Legends
Enjoy
at the
the
moment.
universe of e-gaming.
Yes.
It is
Enjoy
a wonderful
esports.
thing.
It is
Yeah.
really awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.